It'll go.
You got a lot of valid questions.
Okay.
All right, and welcome to Supercharge Your Health. This is Beth Annie Stockdale, owner of the Your Total Body Wellness Center. I'm going to invite you to like our video, subscribe to our channel. Supercharge Your Health is all about expanding your mind and opening your mind to modalities and thought processes that will actually help you to, increase your wellness and make you healthier and all that fun stuff. But today, we're not in the Your Total Body Wellness Center. We're down at Suzanne's house.
We are in Discount Med Direct in Cape Coral, 2414 Tamiami Trail, Unit 1. You can call me at 941-421-7155. You can also come see us in Cape Coral at 229 Del Prado Boulevard North, Unit 9. And we are here again with Ed Silvernail, and we're going to go into another part of what he does. We're going to go a little bit into the hypnosis, but in the realm of past life regressions. So in how past lives relate to your life today and how they can maybe have issues with fears or likes or
dislikes,
health issues, all
issues,
different kinds of things. So we'll get talking about that and see where it leads us.
And you've actually been through a few of his sessions. So
I have done some group sessions with Ed. I find them very interesting. I would love to do them again. I don't think you're doing any right now, but if you do, let me know, because I definitely enjoy those. I feel like I've learned a lot from them. It's explained some relationships that I have. One of them, a person that's in my life now, we were in another life together and in a kind of a different dynamic than what we're in now, so that was kind of interesting, and actually asked that person some questions and trying to feel out how he would have felt about that life. But that's another story.
I think we're getting a little bit. Let's back up right now. Hey, why don't you explain what past life regressions are?
Well, I am kind of passionate about past lives because, as you said, they give you a great understanding of who you are. I was talking earlier that if you look at a baby, people expect, a baby's a blank slate. But when you watch and you observe them, you see them reacting to things in different ways. They're dreaming. Where are these dreams coming from? Where do these reactions come from? And as you watch them grow, they have likes and dislikes that might be different than anybody in the family. I saw that within myself. So I started pursuing these past lives to gain a greater understanding of who I am and where I'm coming from. Why is it, for instance, I remember I was fascinated with ancient Egypt. I was actually we went to a natural museum in high school, and I was telling the instructor things. I was pointing things out. He didn't know that. Ancient Greece, the great wisdom thinkers, Socrates, Plato, Japan, ancient Japan. I was always fascinated with these things, but why? I couldn't explain it. Some of them I had never seen anything. I've never been there. Why? So by studying and experiencing these past lives through regression one way or the other, I helped to get understanding of why I'm drawn to those. And that's a great test, is if you look at the world, a place in the world, a place in history, a culture, you find that you're attracted to different ones or even repelled by. Those are an experience of a past life. That's an indication, if you will, that you had some kind of life interaction with that culture or that time period or in that place.
You saying that, I'd like my brother to do it because he has always said he wants to learn to speak Russian.
Mm-hmm. Why? But why?
So what is it that you do?
So there are different methods to experience a past life. I've done some of myself in a meditation format. Now,
if I came to you and said, okay, I have a fear of horses, as the practitioner, what are your methods?
Well, I am a consultant hypnotist, so I have a method of bringing a person back to past lives. All right. So you can go specifically to a life. In other words, you can take a person directly to what they call the initial sensitizing event. That's where that phobia, where that fear comes from.
Are we doing this through hypnosis?
This would be hypnosis.
That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
What is it
so
you
this
do?
So this is done through hypnosis, and the past lives that I do, the regressions, I do them through hypnosis. And there are different induction methods. And people talk about
I was going to say, let's talk about how you do it.
I don't do that. You see these people who are stage hypnotists. The big thing there is picking out the people who can be hypnotized. Because anybody can be hypnotized, but you may not want to be hypnotized.
Okay, what sets you apart from an entertainer who does hypnosis?
Well, again, the entertainer, the people you see on
what
stage.
What training do you have?
I am a consulting hypnotist. There are different levels, if you will.
Okay.
There's different, for instance, I have 200 hours of training.
That's what I was
I'm a member of the National Guild of Hypnotists.
There you go.
So I have the basic training that any hypnotist is going to have.
Okay.
You can get more hours, and then of course the psychologist, a degree. So I'm not treating, I can help you with phobias, I can help you with smoking cessation, weight loss, things like that.
Okay, great.
I just have gotten passionate about past lives because I have seen and I can see so much come out of it, a greater understanding of self, and a great source for healing. So, and there are different induction methods. The one I use, and you've been to a number of mine, I use the same induction method every time, and it might, if you were to listen to it, it's going to sound boring. But that induction method goes back over 100 years. Hypnosis is nothing new. So I don't use the pendulum. I don't, we're relaxing, but we want to get past the gatekeeper to the subconscious mind.
Okay.
So in hypnosis, the way it works in hypnosis is you're in charge at all times. So and my wife doesn't like it when I use her as examples, but I've hypnotized her more than anybody else. And a perfect example, I had her deep in hypnosis, deep in a hypnotic state, and she opens her eyes, gets up, goes, I gotta pee. And she goes to the bathroom. She's in control. So you can come out anytime you want. I can't make you do something you would not normally do. So there's a whole list of myths that people have. So we cover that. We do group sessions. The first, I tell people allow for about 2 hours. First half hour is just getting to know me. It's understanding what hypnosis is, and that's part of my job. You have to feel safe and secure with me, otherwise nothing I can do is going to help. I can't get you into a hypnotic state. Nothing's going to happen. So we have to spend that one-on-one time getting to know each other, and also getting to know what, if you're here for a specific reason, fear of horses, then I have to understand.
I don't have fear of horses, but if I do.
But we're using this as an example.
Example.
So it is to understand what that phobia, what that fear is, whatever it might be, and also some of the triggers. Like if someone comes for smoking, okay, where do you smoke? Are you always, do you find that you're smoking in bars and that kind of environment? So that when you go in that environment, we have to trigger that. So you're not walking in there and lighting up. Is it that you smoke after you eat dinner?
Well, let's talk about past life regressions.
This is why we have to understand who we're dealing with each other.
Right.
And then in a group session, I have a list of questions for a general session.
So everybody that comes to the group, say if they had a group session, everybody's coming for the specific purpose. They want to understand their past lives.
They want to have a past life experience.
To be able to explain something that they're either experiencing now or is getting triggered and they don't know what it's being triggered.
A lot of people want to do it for entertainment value, but they always get something out.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that like the group, you could do it that the group wants to come and find out about a fear, or the group wants to come and find out. Ours were much more general than that.
Exactly.
So ours were just like, we're going to go to a past life and see what we
But
find.
we do have people who come away with answers that they didn't even realize they had.
So it doesn't have to be so serious.
Exactly. As I said, a lot of people come for entertainment value. They want to. An example. I tell people I keep my induction at what I call gray. My wife went to a hypnotist doing a past life regression, and she regressed her. You're a little girl, you're in a garden, and then when you're in your past life. Well, guess what? She was a little girl in a garden in her past life. I don't tell you that. I'm not telling you you're male or female. I don't tell you where you're going, when you're going, anything. I keep it neutral so that, who brings you there? Your guides, if you will, your angels, whatever you want to call it, your higher self. They're the ones, because I'm telling you, you need to go to a physical past life on the earth that has something pertaining to this life. It may be a phobia, a fear, a health issue, or it may be a relationship. So that when you come out in that past life, we get to explore, and you're going to be presented with that.
Well, and I think, at least for me, I think I'm probably the one that I had the relationship thing.
Yeah.
I went in with the intention of learning about a relationship. So that was my intention going in, was not necessarily that relationship, but relationships in general. So I think that was why that one went that direction.
And people have a lot of challenges with relationships, how we interact with people. We might interact with a woman easier than a man, or a blonde woman easier than a brunette one. It's really funny how you can get real specific in these things. So when we do the group sessions, again, I have a very generic way, and the reason why, I'll leave out why on the earth, that's a totally other topic, but I like to say physical life, that's another topic, but on the earth, because Google is your friend, as my son likes to say. I've done regressions on myself using meditation process, and I come out and I'll write down what I got, and I'll go and Google it, and I'll get answers. I didn't know, I was a woman, my family traveled the King's Highway, I was born where Damascus is today. Okay? Well, guess where the King's Highway route is? It's near where Damascus is today. I didn't know that. It's a caravan trade route. So in that life, and it was a good life, that was the area in the world I lived in.
So then you could go back and learn more about that.
Well, and why I'm attracted, because I was always actually attracted to that part of the world. I love gardening. I love the herbs and the healing process. I did another past life regression on myself. You talk about relationships. My daughter was my sister in that life. My daughter loves gardening, herbs, and she's got a heck of a green thumb. She didn't grow anything. And it was hard for her to move out and separate from me. And in that life, she actually died while I was away. So we have a bond in multiple lives. So it helps to understand our relationship with this individual, why it is either so combative or so close.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So that was one example of myself. So we have, again, different methods. When we do a group session, I have a list of questions that I'll ask to guide you into this once you get into this life. Now, when I do a one-on-one session, I have the same list. But when I ask you a question, you're going to answer me. They can answer in a group, but you can answer one-on-one.
Got it.
So I might say, and I always like to get somebody grounded into that life, okay, look at your feet. What, if anything, are you wearing on your feet? And it also look at the ground around your feet. So you might say, oh, my feet, I'm barefoot. And I'm standing in dirt. Okay, let's look at the sky. Let's look around you. Start getting you into the environment. But I can't do that in a group. I'd ask the question, but I might ask you the same question, and you're starting to tell me, I got an anklet. I got some kind of, handmade little jewel around my foot. Or you need to go up your body and find out what you're wearing, whether you're male or female. Look at your hands. What are your hands? What's the color of your skin? Are they rough? These kind of questions help define who you are, what you did. And it brings your attention into that life and grounds you in that life so you start getting more.
So Suzanne, and if you're willing to talk about it, what your experience was, and I think even more has come to you when we were talking right before the session. So if you could explain, because that'll then make more sense to our listeners and those of us that are watching us, what you remembered before we started talking today, and then through our discussion today, what you then remembered.
Yeah, so in one of my past life regressions with Ed, I was a slave in like a Underground Railroad type situation. I was escaping, and I was with a group of other slaves, and we were going from place to place trying to get to freedom. I in that life was a man, remember being a very big man, but one of those kind of like friendly giant kind of guys. I was the person that was keeping everybody's spirits up. And even though we were dealing with this tough situation, I was very happy in keeping everyone else happy and doing that. And then while we were sitting here, and I went on and lived a good life and died with my family, even though I think I had left some children, but I think ultimately I died in a happy place. And that's part of where you take people through to their death in the regressions. But then when we were talking, and we got talking about today about claustrophobic, and I had said right before that this came up that I wished I had gone back and read my journal, because Ed has you journal a little bit about it before you leave. And then what we were doing was kind of a series with him, and he wanted us to journal to try and get to one point. But so I didn't go back and read them, but I was trying to remember, because we said we would talk about them. And so while they were talking about something else and I'm trying to remember, I remembered a feeling of claustrophobia. They got talking about somebody that was claustrophobic, and I remembered that feeling of claustrophobic. And I get very claustrophobic on like an airplane. And that instantly that related to that life. Because
of the shape of the tunnel.
Yeah, because of being in tunnels and being in enclosed places with other people. And even though I was happy there and was doing that, it was like, oh, that's where that comes from. That's why when I get on a plane and I'm with all these people, I feel so like tense, and the tenseness of being in that are we going to get caught situation. And
but you were a happy person.
But I was happy.
So you could be happy on planes.
I could be. Well, I don't not go on planes because of it, but I just feel that anxiety. Yeah.
But that explains it.
Yeah.
And then you can release it because you know there is no present.
Yeah. So now it'll be interesting to see next time I go on a plane.
Right. Because, and I think this is for me, this is why this is so fascinating, because I'm a firm believer in being where your feet are right here, right now. And understanding that your fear, if you have one, of something that you can't explain happened in a prior lifetime, but you are perfectly safe where your feet are right here and right now. So you have nothing to fear right here and right now, that now you know where that memory is coming from. And you're like, oh, and I want you to think of it like that way. Oh, now I get it. Now I understand why I don't like blue shoes. Whatever. Whatever the deal is. You don't like boats. You don't like planes. You don't like narrow stairwells. You don't like swimming in the ocean. Whatever it is, could be something that happened to you in your prior lifetime that you just bring with you wherever you are now. My philosophy is, we all have one foot in the physical world and one foot in the spiritual world. And that spiritual world is the accumulation of all your prior lifetimes and all your prior experiences, so that you take them with you everywhere. And there just may be some things you don't understand. But going through this kind of regression, that kind of stuff that's kind of nagging you, it's like, why am I feeling this way about this certain thing? You do this past life regression, then you can understand it and go, oh, no, I get it.
It helps you gain understanding of who we are as an individual and really where we come from.
Yeah.
Why are we interested in certain things? Why you see these child prodigies that just sit down and can play the piano. Where does that come from?
Right.
People that can paint or draw, sing. Where does that come from? Nobody in the family is like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Gives you an understanding of who you are, why you are, and she was talking about the number of classes where I was trying to put something together, what I call past life journeys, where we come back every month and go into a different life, because I don't tell you where you're going. You're guided to naturally go there. And each life is going to expose something else about you. Each life is going to tell you more about yourself. And if you journal it, you start gaining a greater understanding of who you are, so that when you walk out the door in the morning and something triggers it, and you may not have that trigger anywhere else, but something comes up and it triggers it, and it's, I understand where that's from. So it doesn't have the same effect that it might have had you not. There are things we pick up in this life. But if you imagine, there are things that go all throughout to me, I don't believe in death.
Right.
Our life history. Yeah. Our life is this life, it's past lives, and you can get into other dimensions and whatnot if you want to, parallel realities, but in life in general, we have all these experiences for a reason. each one, if we learn about it, we can add to it, and we can add to this life, and really enhance this life so much more.
We have the saying. I have the saying. People have the saying that the person's an old soul. They are in a very young body, but they're wise beyond their years. Where does that wisdom come from?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
To me, I believe all souls are pretty much the same age. I think it's a matter of maturity. You have people who have so much anxiety that it keeps them from growing. They don't work to get past it. They can't walk out the door because they're all these fears that they've accumulated through this life and past lives. They've allowed it to get the better of them, and they don't do anything to get past that. So these are people that are just standing still. Then you have other people there are people that, could have been hung in a past life, realize that experience and say, you know what, I'm going to take that and learn from it.
Well, that's my whole thing with all of this, is it's for understanding to move you forward.
Exactly.
Not to get stuck in it. And, I'm a brain health coach too, and dealing with what we call PTSD. It's just that the trauma happened in this lifetime.
Or did it?
Well, that's the other thing. It's triggering an experience from a prior lifetime also. So, they're all connected.
Exactly.
It's like one big continuum.
I would think that PTSD and past lives could vary, especially with like soldiers, could very much be multiple, because that would be an attraction that you would have if you've been a soldier for many lives.
As I was saying when we were talking, I had a fascination with Japan. I was samurai. I remember watching a movie, and in the movie the character was stabbed. I felt the blade go in. I actually physically felt the experience of that blade penetrating me. I know I died in that life that way. Live by the sword, die by the sword. But that doesn't mean that was a bad life. That was just how I died.
Right.
The whole idea, in fact, they have what they call Bushido code. I read up on that. It's a fascinating philosophy. Where does that interest coming from? I know.
Yeah.
But then again, it could be just as simple as a deja vu. It doesn't have to be that we were somebody famous or something tragic or whatever.
Well,
it could just be something.
And that's the thing. Most people, most people weren't somebody famous.
Well, and that's if you look at mine. I mean, in the first one with the relationship, I was a wife. My husband was. It was early 1800s or before, where there was more like landowners. Like in England or that type of area. My husband was very wealthy, but he didn't spend any time with me. And this person was like my driver. So I was somewhat comfortable, but I was not a queen or I didn't have a title, but I was comfortable, and this person was my driver, and he drove me around in a horse and carriage. Then the next one that I did that I talked about earlier, I was a slave. So that was, like a whole different kind of feel. Right. I obviously wasn't anybody important as a slave, and I don't remember who I was a slave for. None of that part came. But
well, actually, you were somebody very important as a slave, because, as you said, you helped lighten the mood, if you will, and help morally support these people. What are you doing in this life? What are we doing here?
Hello.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Okay, so that's why I like doing this, and the whole idea, like in a group, we as I said earlier, we start by talking. You've got to understand who I am, and then we'll go into the session, which might last about half hour, 40 minutes, and then we come out and we share, because you may not. Like, you didn't think of that.
Right.
So we're sharing in the session. We've had times where someone says, I didn't get anything, and then when they share, well, I got colors, I got this, I got that, they died in utero. Okay?
Yeah, I think there was a lady, actually a friend of mine, that had that in one.
Exactly. So you didn't realize something. We had one that we did, a young man was saying, well, after the plane flew overhead, my back started hurting, and I didn't get anything. There was no plane that flew overhead. And he came back a week later and found and realized, because we trigger these memories, these thoughts, and you may start getting more in the coming days. He came back and started sharing all kinds of stuff where he was working on a skyscraper and fell to his death. Just the backache. He was a pilot and died in an airplane accident. So you start, more and more starts coming out, and you start getting understanding, oh wow, now I can let go of that fear.
Right.
We were sharing earlier of a person that was in one, and I'm going to tell it differently than my wife likes to. My wife likes to start with the ending. This individual in this past life, she came into this life, she's a 5-year-old little girl. Her father was a captain of a merchant ship. So he was loading up the ship, she's out playing, he calls her, it's time to go. She's running to him, she falls in a hole, nobody finds her, and she dies there. Well, she's sharing this with us, and then come to find out, she had a fear of heights. She could not even step off the curb of a sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
But after this, she understood where that fear come from, and that fear, she moved past it.
Right.
So
and
now she did not come there for that. Now in a one-on-one, you can go for entertainment value or a specific fear. We could
Or
have
a
gone to
specific
that.
issue,
Right.
any kind of issue.
Right. And as a brain health coach, part of the reason why that in the beginning these memories don't come is because the brain has put that memory in a place where it's safe. Because if it comes out and I'm not ready to deal with it, I'm not ready to deal with it yet. But as the brain realizes it can start releasing these memories and move the memory to another place and then deal with it.
It's a safety valve.
Yeah.
Well, and that's probably a good segue that we kind of talked about, that what we wanted to get into this is, what happens if you're doing a personal session with somebody and they get to a really scary place and they start to freak out a little bit?
As a
How do you
hypnotist,
handle that?
and
Yeah.
any hypnotist goes through the training, if a person starts freaking out, we're taught how to calm them down. And it really varies from person to person. And sometimes there's something as simple as, touching. Okay, we might do something like this. It really depends on the individual, but we are taught to kind of bring them down and bring them back. Again, you're in complete control. But when a memory comes up like that, we've got to calm it down.
If it's the first time that this memory is coming out,
It can be very traumatic.
You provide a safe environment for the
Exactly.
safety of that person.
And I'm
for
guessing
them
at
to
that point, as
process
you
it.
trying to calm them down, you will ask them if they want to go forward or if they want to come out.
Once we lower them down to
Yeah.
a certain place, we can. And that, again, I tell people, as a hypnotist, I'm a guide. So when we're doing one-on-one and I'm asking a question, your answer helps me direct you where to go next. In something like that, once I calm you down, we can go in a different direction. We don't need to stay here. So we can go and maybe come back around the corner, kind of go in circles coming back to this so that we're approaching it from a different direction.
Right.
When I do a past life regression, I do take people to their death, but we do it in such that we're like watching a movie. There's no fear, and this is what we try to emphasize. Hypnotists have to emphasize this. There is nothing here that's going to hurt you.
Right.
We're searching for answers. It's like opening a book. You don't need to get all emotionally involved in it. We can separate the emotions from it, and that's what we try to do, because we want to approach it from more of a rational mind than the fearful mind.
And for me, it was very much like watching a movie. And even though I knew that I was part of it, it was like a movie kind of. You say that you kind of felt like you were there in that moment, but it wasn't. You didn't have I didn't feel the anxiety of being caught as a escaped slave.
Right, because you still have that one foot in this physical world.
Right.
Yeah. Right, which you can come back to at any point. Yeah.
So tell us how people can set up a past life regression with you
Well,
if they want to do one.
They can, again, contact me. I do regressions at I can come to where you're at, your house, your office. I have one of these 0G chairs. I love it. I'm frequently in it myself. It transports nice and easy. And again, we want you as comfortable as possible. So you want to be in an environment you're comfortable with. I also have a room set up at my home that I can do some out of. So one-on-one sessions, they can contact me at beempowered@holistic toolsforhealth.com, or they can call me at 941-626-0602. They can also text me there and set up an appointment. Again, I like to allow for 2 hours because, again, the first half an hour, we're going to be talking. You got to feel comfortable with me. You got to feel safe with me, and you got to feel safe in the environment. Now, here's one thing that I do that might be a little bit different. You see this person sitting over here? She's with me at all times.
That's his wife. He's pointing to his wife.
Now, the reason why I do that, when I do energy work, I'm a Reiki master and things like that, I have to set up a safe environment for me as well. So I want you to feel comfortable that I'm not going to be inappropriate. Okay? So I have another person here also to make me safe and you safe.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I want you, so she goes with me, she may be sitting in the other room, she may be in the room, she also works when we do energy work, she's also a Reiki practitioner, she does work with me. So we work together and things like that. In a group session, and I tell people, if you want to organize a group session, we can organize it with you and your friends at your house.
There you go.
We've done sessions for 5 people. I've done up to 20 people. It really doesn't matter how many people are there. You just have to be comfortable. I don't recommend people lay down. When you lay down, that triggers the mind. I'm going to sleep. So sitting up, a recliner is great. That's why I use a zero-G recliner. So at home, I have multiple recliners. So if we're doing a session at the house, I've got like 5-6 recliners that people can sit in and get in a nice, comfortable position without triggering that sleep meditation.
I'm always the one that has to have the hard chair. I have to sit up because I use a lot of meditation to relax, to go to sleep. And it feels very similar to me when you do it. It feels very similar to meditation. So I have to be, my feet on the ground, my arms.
Feet on the ground. I would think grounded would be important.
But I have to be more in an upright position to stay awake, just for that exact reason. Because I tend to fall asleep.
And it's your energy too.
Well, that's why you don't sit there crossed arms and legs. You want to be relaxed. You want to be as comfortable as possible. If we do a group session, you bring a pillow, a yoga mat, a blanket, because when you do meditate, when you do hypnosis, your body temperature drops.
Yep.
So I have a blanket that I use for people to cover them up with meditation. A lot of people use music. I don't use any music, and I try to have as minimal distractions. Although when you get under the state of hypnosis, you're induced to hypnosis. You're not hypnotized per se, and you're not asleep. You don't hear this stuff. That's part of the induction method, to where you're not aware of the external distractions, if you will.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing anything, but where you lived at the time, I was at your house, it was a very quiet neighborhood, so there probably wasn't a lot.
And it's even more quiet where we're at now. We're a 10-minute walk from more mineral springs, so I go out back and listen to the birds chirp.
There you
go. But we try to create, like I said, one-on-one sessions, either way, about 2 hours.
Okay, sounds good.
And if someone does multiple sessions, do you have them account for 2 hours each time, or after that first time?
The first time is the 2 hours. After that, an hour and a half or so, because in the group session, as I said, it's a half hour, 40 minutes that you're actually in. So if you allow 2 hours, you've got discussion afterwards and some discussion before. In a one-on-one session, you are going to be in longer. I might have you under hypnosis for an hour and a half. It really depends on what we come up with, and then there's a little bit of discussion afterwards, because I'm not going to have you walk out the door a little bit flighty because you're not all the way back yet. I want you to be safe when you leave the house. So, and I do, when we do one-on-one sessions, I do record them, give you an audio recording, or you can bring a recorder yourself.
Which is good to know, because you're not going to remember.
Well, you do, but you might not remember everything, and you might remember different things.
Right.
Well, and just like we experienced today, I mean, like we said, it's been a couple of years since I've done one with you, and just trying to remembering them and bring them back. I'm going to go home now and find my notes, because I know I have them somewhere, and read them again and see what comes up now a couple of years later, after kind of having this conversation today and realizing things.
Well, and the thing is, too, you may have experienced things between now and then
that you didn't realize.
Well, that hadn't happened yet.
Well, there may have been changes
Right.
from
Yeah.
then that
So,
you just haven't.
I'll
thought
report
of.
back
There we go.
if there's any other.
Okay, so Suzanne's going to go and she's going to check her journal and her notes from her past life regression.
Find it first, but
and see what's happened since you had the session and what new experiences you've had since then. That looking back on your notes will explain what has happened.
Well, and it's
since then.
interesting because the person that I talked about in the relationship one, I just had an issue with him in the last couple of days. So it'll be interesting now, after talking about it again, to go back and look at that one and see.
See if there's a way difference in how you deal with it.
Yeah, I think I might need to go to that life again because I think there's still something unresolved in that life. But
And as I
anyway.
said, Google's your friend. You can Google and find out more about what.
It's more of a relationship issue.
And if you want to have fun, we didn't talk about this earlier, but if you want to have fun, I specify a human physical life on the earth, and it has something to do with this life. We've done group regressions where it was non-physical or non-human. I've had people come
That
back
makes
as
sense.
butterflies
Oh, yeah.
or a racehorse. I had one gentleman that he was a racehorse, and he knocked his owner off, and his owner killed him.
There you go.
Turned out his owner was his ex-wife. His current wife elbowed him and said, "Now I know why she shot you." So
Yeah, okay, so maybe we have to do that. Maybe that's a whole nother show.
That's a whole other show. And with that, Beth Annie Stockdale, owner of Your Total Body Wellness Center, located at 800 East Venice Avenue, Suite C, in Venice, Florida, 34285. Call me, text me, 941-468-7091. And Suzanne.
I'm Suzanne with Discount Med Direct, and we are at 2414 Tamiami Trail, Unit 1, Import, Charlotte. You can call us at 941-421-7155. That is not a textable number. But you can reach us at info@healthsupercharge.com. Our website is healthsupercharge.com. And you can find us on Facebook at Supercharge Your Health. And don't hesitate if you have questions for us or Ed. I know they're on Facebook as well under Holistic Tools. You can obviously reach out to him there, or he can.
If you could put the link in the comments
we will
to the
do that.
website. And if you have, anything cool, groovy, innovative, different, you're curious about something and you want us to investigate, and we can take this show on the road too, which we've done in the past. We're in the mood for a field trip.
Well, we talked about one. We need to talk about that when we get
Okay,
to
we'll talk about a field trip. So, in the meantime, go back, look at the other Supercharge Your Health episodes, learn more. If you've got any questions, let us know. In the meantime, be well, feel well, and stay well.